Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first or second or restream of. I forget how many there was before this. I think there's already a couple. First week of Mentor Tournament. I'm here with Malmo. Hello, Malmo.
Hello, Break-Kun.
We got the glitch community here
Yeah.
running the restream.
But you know what? We have the NNG community on Restream. Because
true.
we have Bydey, who is a 124 NNG runner, mentored by Eriror, who's one of the few people who's actually faster than Bydey at NNG. But Bydey does need help with the routing randomizer. He has almost no experience with that at all. On the other side, we have Grasshopper, mentored by FlipHeal, another one of those people who can do both mentor NMG and routing for randomizer. So it'll be interesting to watch. I believe Grasshopper got some pretty decent times on the asyncs with a 130 something and a 150 something.
And already got a little bit of divergence. We got a sync starter, we got an uncle router. The commonly debated openers for a regular old open seed.
Yeah, I would recommend paying attention to sort of the way Bydey moves, because if you are not familiar with movement, he's actually really good at movement, even as a mentee, but that is specifically on the path of NMG and maybe off the path of NMG. It's hard to rely on muscle memory, but you can learn the principles of movement and apply them everywhere. On the meantime, we have Grasshopper also taking advantage of the 4 bombs on the tree pole and getting led into the Lost Wood, surprisingly turning down a full heart container. I would be taking this heart container. Not as a mentee, as a player, as me.
Yeah, honestly, just like it's like you're taking like maybe 5 or 6 seconds for a full heart this early. Like it can help. Oh, there's another free one just right here.
The first heart makes a lot of difference. The second heart also does, because you have some enemies in the overworld that do 2 hearts of damage over at Ice Rod Cave. The first heart doesn't do anything there, but the second heart does, because then you can take 2 hits and not die. You also have the mountain. If you go up the mountain early enough with not a lot of hearts, there's a lot of stuff up there that does a whole heart of damage.
Boy, I know that from running glitch modes. Or like, man, I want to rush the mountain and then 3 hearts and just get bopped by a random enemy.
Yeah, this is open, no glitches, which means that they may not actually be able to access the mountain yet. You do need a glove for that, but all it takes is a glove or a flute and you have access. And then you also need the lamp if you're taking the glove up to have logical access. Most people will not go up the mountain until they at least have some way to get to East Death Mountain or at least Tower of Hera, as Grasshopper does find a glove in Kakariko Village, so the mountain is open now, in theory.
I don't mind going up the mountain if only to rescue Old Man real quick, just for the save and quit point. Pushing it beyond that if you have no other access doesn't feel terribly great, but at the very least, taking the time just to rescue Old Man's not bad. Because I mean, you're probably gonna do it anyway. So if you do it early, oh well, you might pull something neat. You might not.
It looks like Bydey has put some time into learning bomb strats for the escape, which is not required yet. This is open mode, so you don't have to go here yet. But
speaking of
we do have standard randomized swords as the weeks 2, 3, and 4. So it's good to learn this because you might get thrown a bomb start. Grasshopper finds the hammer, so we'll not have to do any kind of bomb strats in the escape. Bydey also had a bow and just a handful of arrows that he saved for the ball and chain guard, because you don't want to have to kill those with bombs.
Yeah, I mean, you can use the pots. It's not ideal, but...
Speaking of mountain, Grasshopper already has logical access to the Old Man with that lamp picked up.
Yeah.
Going back in here to farm money for the bottle merchant, one of the downsides of doing early Kakariko is you're a little bit more likely to enter Kakariko without the resources you need to clear it on the first go. Bydey has 42 rupees. You need 50 rupees to be able to do bottle merchant. You can get the other 50 from the pots, but Grasshopper came in with fewer than 50, so has to farm a little extra.
Yeah, when you come through Kick, you can, if you take one trip through both Well and Blind's Hideout, you get is it 50? Yeah, it's 50. You can get 50. So as long as you can secure, you can try to gamble on a couple red rupee showing up, which honestly is pretty likely because God knows there's so many red rupees in the pool. But yeah, this can happen. That's part of the advantage of Uncle routing. You get 3 checks, you get a tree pull, you can get a little bit of info, and it doesn't take a whole lot of time, honestly. And it gives you better odds to just clear CAC in one go, instead of having to double back to farm up rupees or having to go buy bombs and then come back, and that's just a whole awkward scenario. Also, both runners opting to just skip checking Lumberjack, which is
Perfectly
pretty
fair.
normal. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Grasshopper contending with some kind of console menu. It's pretty important that you don't accidentally reset or delete your file when that happens.
Yeah.
Looks like the bow is just in Link's house, so you do have
Yep.
a weapon right away if you go there. When you have a bow and a few bombs and a sword and the lamp, what do? You go to Eastern. It's a crystal. It's in logic. With the lamp, it's not even hard.
Yeah.
Plenty of hearts
You
to
have
survive,
everything.
too. Yeah, even, the heart level is pretty strong. It's more than you have in NMG.
Yeah, if you have like, sword, lamp, bow, even going to Eastern even with like, 3 or 4 hearts is not it's pretty easy to do. You have the dark rooms aren't a problem if you can see everything, obviously. Just avoid the enemy's forehead.
If you're
And
feeling really
it's
bored,
crystal.
yeah, if you're feeling really bold with this equipment set, you can actually walk straight to Eastern using the rock passageway, climbing some stairs, save a little bit of time. Do Saha's Closet after Eastern rather than doing it first, but it's not that big of a difference to do it first.
Yeah, I feel like overall, because you're gonna clear Eastern anyway. The only thing you'd hope for looting Saha first is to find boots, maybe find boots or a hook to make Eastern just that much faster.
Right, or even silver arrows to make
Like, there's
Armos easier. But it's mostly just you're probably not going to find those things, so doing Eastern first is a little bit more optimal. But if you're low on hearts or if you're missing the lamp, I would recommend doing Saha's Closet first. Even a good player is going to lose time not having the lamp. You're probably not moving optimally when you're doing darkroom navigation. Just having the sword out alone slows you down.
Yeah. I mean, you can even if you watch even like high level runners, it's quite obvious. Like, you have to go to the back, and you have to kind of have to awkwardly walk out with your sword out and kind of generally, knock a couple enemies away, figure out where the Igor is, kill the Igor, and it's this whole, it's a process that takes like 30 seconds. Not, but then obviously if you have lamp and bow, you can kind of walk in and just clean that room up in like 10.
That makes a good point. Desert Palace is actually pretty clearable if it's not boots locked.
Man, we got the NMG runners gonna go into Desert Palace and clear it with the bow NMG style.
It is a pendant.
Yeah, probably not gonna go to the boss, but
Bydey might do it.
With the book in hand, it feels like I wouldn't be surprised. There's something in Desert. I wouldn't be surprised. Because why would the book be Shirwan?
There's gotta be something in Desert, unless a mirror turns up and it's actually an ether tablet.
Yeah. I am definitely suspicious of here's your whole Desert kit, other than boots. That's the only thing holding me back from going to Desert, is it could very easily be boots locked. It doesn't take much.
Now what Bydey's doing is I highly recommend this. If you get the glove, your next move should always be back of escape, because it's never going to get faster than right now.
Yeah, just 3 quick items. Could be progression. Your opponent is always going to do this, so it doesn't really matter.
A sword. Maybe it is a tablet. Now Bydey has to do Dark Cross because the key showed up. The map was in Zelda's cell, which means if Grasshopper goes back of escape first and counts items, and has already done this part of the escape, Dark Cross, he could actually skip Zelda's Cell, which is a not insignificant amount of time.
Yes, it's honestly pretty decent. It's easily like 30, 40 seconds time. A lot of transitions mostly.
Ooh, Grasshopper doing a nice damage boost. There's a couple ways you can do this. When Bydey does this, I'd expect to see it done very cleanly because it's an NNG strat. But you damage boost off of the Popo and get a good trajectory to hit the pot. You can lift the pot and hit it. But if you miss the Popo, which I can tell you from experience, it's really hard to do. I find this very difficult trick. But there's a backup that's not too difficult where you use the stairs instead to arrest your knockback. And then you just take 2 hits from the anti-fairies instead of a Popo hit.
Which, if you have enough HP, it's not too bad. If you're coming in with like 3 or 4 hearts, you have to do the backup strat, then it becomes a little bit more dicey. Because you are taking a full heart from the anti-fairies every time.
Yes, I wouldn't worry too much about the heart level of these runners, but if you're doing this very early, then you might have to consider that. There is a heart you can get in the Stalfos room before to ensure that you have full health.
There's also 2 hearts in the pots underneath the anti-fairies too, if you need a backup.
Very true. And this bottle is interesting because it was always going to be awkward to check Sick Kid in the seed, given where the glove was.
Yeah.
I think most people will wait until they have Dark World access, and they'll do it with their first entry into Village of Outcasts. Or they'll do it when they have the flute and they're activating the flute. Hopefully, maybe you find a mirror and you do it then.
So I'd imagine Grasshopper is probably going to do Back Escape now, because it's easily his best option. And the Sank spawn kind of suggests it, unless this is Mountain.
I think they're both fine, but I still recommend Back of Escape first, because Mountain will get better.
Yeah.
If you get the mirror, you get the hook shot, you get the boots. The last thing you want to do is do the Mountain, go up to Spectacle Rock Cave, and save and quit out of there. That's all you've done. Now, if you're going up there just for the old man, it's fine because you're saving and quitting, and then you have that point you can save and quit from.
I'm kind of curious because at this point, Zora's in Logic, and I'm curious if maybe someone will go for the Houlihan and into South Shore, because we are basically about little, Houlihan's like what, 225?
Yeah, they have enough. Yeah, that's a really good play. I wouldn't have thought of Houlihan.
Because that would easily secure your... I mean, you could do that, or you just gamble that maybe you'll pull some money off of Mini Moldorm, and yeah, there is like, what, 7, 8 checks before you end up going over there.
There are 5 300s in the pool, and you kind of need one of those at this level. The 100 is not going to be enough.
I mean, the 100 with the glove wouldn't be bad because you could get the 20 rupee cave.
Oh, that's true.
You can just do that like twice with 100, and then you're fine.
Yeah, it's Bydey can do it once. Bydey is actually going to be there, but Grasshopper would have to do it a couple times.
Or maybe Bydey will even go for the rupee room in Eastern. Thinking ahead, just secure that cash real quick because that's a pretty quick.
Pretty quick. I don't think it's enough to get to Zora, and it's very slow. I don't know if Bydey would definitely Bydey himself would definitely not think of that. I don't know if Eriror will. It's not common to do that in general.
Yeah, I mean, because it gives you the like $90, and then that's basically looking for a single red rupee to get you there, which is also even just a single. Oh, there's 300 right there.
There we go.
I mean, don't even have to think about rupee routing.
There are 5 of them. I would not have counted on that myself, but like if you did, you save a lot of time not doing Houlihan. Because Houlihan requires you to basically go into the Back of Escape again, but using a bomb. And then you have to collect the rupees, which is slow. Takes you to Link's house and you exit. So all of that time you spend up to Link's house is wasted time. The other thing you could have done is, if you said that, I don't care about Zora yet, you could start at Mini Moldorm Cave and work your way backwards to Desert into the 50 Rupee Cave there. But that's pretty bold to do that without the boots.
So also, we have to consider that, let's see. Wait, didn't they pick up the hammer? Was there a hammer in?
I saw a hammer somewhere. It might have been...
It was in CAC. Yeah, there was a
Okay.
hammer in CAC. It's just not tracked on the thing.
So the Moon Pearl has shown up. That means we have Dark World access, not through Aghanim. Very good. It's a good chance to check Sick Kid. Good reason to put off Desert Palace for a little bit, because it is a pendant.
Yeah. It's a pendant. We've got full access. I mean, hey, maybe we'll just get like a flute and a mirror and mitts and go there the fast way or something. We got more important stuff to do at this point.
Yeah, I admit I would not have expected this to just be a normal Dark World access seed, given that we've seen the lamp and the sword.
Yeah. Here's Master Sword, here's your lamp. It's like, okay, when's Aga? Like, this is coming. At that point, my mind is like, alright, where's the Moon Pearl? So that way I can just climb it, but no. Granted, neither one of them check Lumberjack. So Aga could still be in the cards? Unlikely, but it is possible.
So Grasshopper did not go to Zora, because you have Dark World access, and you'd have to fake Flipper to get there. Zora itself is in Logic, but none of the other checks around it are. So this is, I think, a perfectly fine play. This is the current meta, is to not do fake Flipper unless you have the boots and you can water walk and make it a little faster. Or if you're going to Zora because it's one of your last locations for Dark World access and you want to do other checks on the way.
Yeah, I mean, like, I wouldn't hate it because it's not a huge commitment, and at that point you're committed to skipping Catfish, but that's really not that unusual, to be perfectly honest.
So,
usually Catfish ends up getting skipped in open modes more often than not.
Catfish is one of the worst checks in this mode. Now, Bydey is a little bit behind in Dark World access. That was mostly due to having done the front of Escape. Grasshopper might never do it, or might do it and be able to skip Zelda Cell if they're counting items.
Yeah, even you have so much more stuff right now, and you might think of Escape when you get like the mirror and like, oh, well, I can maybe do Pyramid into Escape real fast. Just because I don't think FlipHeal even did Uncle, did he? I think he just didn't touch any of that. So I think if he pulls a mirror, it wouldn't be bad just check Pyramid along with those checks real fast, because I mean, you're right there, and it's at that point it's a pretty good amount of checks in one area. Just knock out.
Okay, we got Dig Game for Grasshopper. This is the end of the route, unless mitts show up. There isn't really anywhere you can go from here. I see a lot of Hype Cave starts lately, not just from the Mentor Tournament, but from the main tournament level as well. It is a lot of density.
That is my preferred start, myself.
You can hope to spike and Fire Rod before getting there. The Flute's even better, because you're going to go that way anyway to get to the Dark World from the north.
That Flute is very nice.
Bydey going for...
Flipper checks.
Yeah. Bydey has had a bomb strat, but threw the bomb a little too early. So going for the backup, which is the NMG strat, that one Bydey knows how to do.
Like I said, like I don't hate the play to just do quick Zora checks. Yeah, like I would skip Hobo here. It's too slow.
Yeah, it's slow. I might do it just because you're already swimming that way to check the island. Ooh.
Yeah, like I probably would have skipped the island check myself and just gone straight for Zora area. Just like I'll just do island Hobo later if it comes up. Like maybe we'll just get something. Oh, Grasshopper forgetting to activate that flute.
Yeah, so that's a little, I think, mentor intervention with FlipHeal, reminding them that they have a flute, because once they're in the Dark World, they can't get out again. They don't have a mirror.
Also, Bombos in Waterfall Fairy.
Oh, that could be interesting. Bombos is required for, potentially required for one of the Medallion dungeons. Pendant Ice could also be fire rod inside, you know, and you need bombos to get in. So it's interesting. You wouldn't worry about ice until you have flippers anyway, but that would put bombos in logic. But he has to be a little bit careful here. Not get hit during this, but it looks like he's good. And just a heart piece on Zora.
Bombos might be required. We don't know yet. It's a nice pickup regardless. Plus, I feel like it's hard to do a seed where you entirely skip the Zora area when you have, like, especially when you get, like, flute and boots and you get flippers and stuff. It becomes pretty quick, honestly.
You can put it off for Catfish if the mirror shows up, and the mirror will show up at some point because Swamp's a crystal.
Yeah. Even in Swamps of Pendant, it's hard to avoid the mirror, because it locks a decent amount of items.
Yeah, mirror is often your mountain access. It's often your desert access, although in this case it's not because we have book.
So here, we got Grasshopper skipping the front of Skullwoods. Which,
perfectly fine with that. Skullwoods without Fire Rod, pretty skippable for now. We'll come back later and maybe do it with mirror checks or boots checks when we have those items. Flippers do turn up for Grasshopper, which means that the Bombos is in logic for Bydey once he gets that. The Bombos doesn't really do anything until we get access to one of those 3 dungeons it can lock. All of which require the mitts.
Yeah, once we get mitts, then we might see Mire could be... Well, we wouldn't be able to enter Mire with our current loadout. We need either boots or hook. But we might need it to just enter Mire at some point regardless. Or, you know, good old Pendant Ice.
Now, you might have seen runners go to Pod after Hype Cave, given the items they have. But with Pod being a pendant, I think that's good enough reason to put it off.
Yeah, especially because at least, you know, in Bydey we'll find it soon. With the flute, it becomes a lot easier to just be like, okay, well, I can just do Pendant Pod whenever. It's just a flute away. Flute 5 and just kind of go there at some point.
It's also probably worth taking care of the old man now that you have the flute. Do it on your next save and quit, because now you'll have that access to the mountain to start your flutes from. Most of your save and quits after the flute are going to be from the old man cave, because you can get a full heal and it's one of the faster ways to get to the overworld.
Yeah, if you don't care about the full heal, I think Link's house ends up just being the fastest. But if you do want that full heal, then yeah, mountain. Give him a little kiss and then be on your way.
Bydey must be having a good Google at the location of the flute, because in NMG you used the shovel to get the flute at the dig spot, and now we're using the shovel to get the flute at the other dig spot.
Yeah, you know, coming here to Vu first makes sense. You have Thieves as a crystal. You got everything to clear it. I mean, it kind of honestly, Thieves without boots kind of sucks. Not gonna lie, because this is just a dungeon of straight lines.
And then there's a particular room where if you're really good and also a little bit lucky, you can dash straight up the middle and not have to deal with the room at all. But when you don't have the boots, you just have to deal with it.
This is progression. It's a bunch of items. You can full clear it. It's even a red crystal. Which, with Hera being the other red crystal, Pyramid Fairy can very quickly come into play here.
Yeah, we're just a mirror or hookshot away from Pyramid Fairy. I think we've reached the point where neither of the runners is too concerned with their health. As we see Grasshopper not even bother defending themselves against the cricket, maybe now they should consider it, because they do still do a whole heart of damage even on blue mail.
Yeah. Like, you do have 3 health pickups. You have 2 in the cell, and 1 right next to the line if you didn't pick it up beforehand. So
yeah.
you have a little bit of backup, but, you know. HP is a resource to use, yes. Just gotta be careful sometimes. Sometimes it's a-okay to just tank a hit and keep going if it's just a little faster. Just, don't do what I've done where I'm just like, yes, red mail, brain off, run into things, and then go, why is my health beeping? Hold on a second.
There are things that will do damage, full damage, no matter what mail you're on, and they might surprise you. Even things like Igors. It's not just the hazards like spikes. There are certain enemies that don't care. Even the green guards, they always do a half-hearted damage, which makes them a good, reliable death warp in the back of escape or front of escape.
Yeah, the moment you get a mail upgrade. Well,
okay, Ice Rod. Good thing Ice Rod everyone gets, not one of those trolly. You don't go and have the hammer going in here. You always have the hammer going in here. So, in this seed, everybody gets that Ice Rod. So there won't be no Ice Rod hunt today. Bydey's showing us the proper way to pull Thieves Town door, which is a little bit to the left or the right to reduce your knockback. Not only does it save a little time on the travel, but it also prevents you from getting hit by the Poe a little bit more often.
That Poe can definitely be a jerk if you end up playing inverted. Because you'll open it at 3 hearts and then just go rolling into him and die instantly. So the only thing we pull out here is Ice Rod, which is required, and it's just on the path, which is, good. And given that we've already cleared south, which I guess I should reiterate from earlier of, talking about, okay, I guess just skipping Skullwoods entirely.
I respect it. It's... Honestly, I would rather go to Pendant Pod than Unclearable Skull. But the deal with Skull is that there's never a small key on Mothula, which means there's a lot more often an item on Mothula. So you go in there, you might just find nothing. You might find only one item. The Grasshopper is following the flippers that turned up in the chess game, which will land Bombos Medallion. I think Grasshopper should maybe get Hobo here, but it's maybe also better to wait for a mirror and do it with Pod. But we're getting close to the point where we might just be doing Pod now, so maybe they should be doing... It doesn't really matter. Neither runner has done Hobo, so they're even in that regard.
Yeah, we can still see an old man rescue at some point. Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you're doing Hobo, you can also quickly get to Hobo just from even like walking from Link's house or something.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, walking from Link's house is it's we're used to being able to just go through that wall, but I think actually you would flute to 8 and swim. Now there is a little step ladder there in the Dark World, but you would need the mirror to take advantage of that.
Let's see, what is Grasshopper gonna do here? Because your options are kind of running low.
Grasshopper has
particularly
been
good options.
Yeah, Grasshopper has been a little more aggressive in the routing, so there's a lot of cleanup that they could do that Bydey has already done. Like we saw the Zora checks, but also it looks like they're going for Hobo, and then they could also do the front of escape. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it a little longer, I like the idea of doing the back half of the Zora checks first in case a mirror shows up, and then doing this. The flute definitely takes, you're taking advantage of the flute by being able to do them in any order you want, and this is the better order.
Like, technically, if it's just for optimal checks, Hobo first would be a little faster, just because I think you could just walk out and flute. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that ends up being a bit faster than save quit, walk out and flute.
I think they will walk out and flute to the mountain or to Pod, whichever place they decide to go next.
You know, like I said, I wouldn't hate just rescuing the old man and then maybe just bailing on Spec Rock. Because I mean, you're gonna do old man anyway. I don't think there's any reason you wouldn't. And then if he's nothing, you can immediately just flute off. And yeah, I mean, pod makes sense. It's a pendant, but it's easily your most dense location right now. The only thing that kind of sucks is, honestly, the thing that kind of sucks is the fact that you have the ability to full clear pod and just sit there and debate. Well, do I actually want to go to Helma? Because it's a bit of a time commitment, honestly.
One of
Go
the
all
things
way
that
to Helma.
One of the things that can help you make that decision is doing pod very late so that you have nothing to do. Which I think Bydey will probably end up, because he has done so much already. Probably do the mountain and then do pod, whereas Grasshopper still has the front of escape and the mountain and Skullwoods.
Yeah, and also not having mirror kind of sucks for pod too. The mirror helps tremendously in routing pod.
This is a lot of hearts to have for doing mirrorless pod. I agree.
There's just a lot of back and forth walking.
Bydey is doing, more thorough checking and continuing that pattern by going up to probably Bumper Ledge and definitely Skullwoods.
Yeah, I feel like if you're here, you're probably gonna check. Oh, I guess not checking Bumper.
Okay.
I'm honestly, he might just be aiming off for like maybe a mirror or something because he hasn't even checked Lumberjack yet. So if he can either clear it or he has mirror, then he can just walk up and check Lumberjack with it. Because at this point, when do you check Lumberjack? you have
check it
for mountain access.
You check it when you get your boots.
Yeah.
If you don't check it right away, you check it either climbing the mountain, which is nullified by having having the flute, and then if you don't have that, you check it with the boots because it's not even possible to get it without the boots.
Yeah.
Big key first, and that makes this version of the route a little optimal compared to going to the front first. I have a little philosophy of going into the front and just opening one chest and leaving if it's an item, but Bydey will have the chance to get the big chest and not have to double back. I also agree with Bydey doing this route because if he's going to do Bumper Ledge, you want to be exiting Skullwoods when you're done with your checks and not be stuck in the middle. Bydey getting redirected back inside to check this chest, the map chest, I believe. Because if it's a key, it'll let you route Skullwoods a little bit quicker than dropping down a pit.
Yeah. Because I feel like you already got the big key from the middle anyway. The chances of that being a small key there is pretty likely, I think.
I don't know if I've ever seen someone freeze the Gibdo like that. Oh, Quake shows up. That could be interesting. Quake is, another one that doesn't matter until you have mitts, but if Fire Rod is sitting in Mire, then it could be a big deal for Grasshopper to not have that. And the hook shot.
The hook.
Okay, I would say the hook shot is probably our progression. Because Grasshopper hasn't found anything in pod yet, although they haven't done the interesting part of it yet. The hook shot opens up
the entirety of the Light Mountain.
That is all Light Mountain. That's Hera, that's Pyramid Fairy, that is so much.
Oh, that darn fairy. Somehow these guys are always in the pack that has a fairy. Every time.
It's good that the fairy dropped there because that's not the one that messes up Hammer Jump, and also they have already, they're doing some screen transitions that will fix it even if it was. That is the vanilla pack for the Helmosaur. Yeah, I've been told by some people who know what they're talking about that the chances of finding a progression item in the dungeon have more to do with the total chests in the dungeon rather than what we would consider to be the total number of items. So Skullwoods, even though it's only 2 items, it's a whole bunch of key chests, and those kind of count. That's interesting. I think maybe Grasshopper got a drop from a Helmasaur and got
It
a
did
dive.
drop a full magic and caught it at like the height
Yeah, so
of
that
it.
would mess up your bomb jump on very specific circumstances, and this is one of them. And
Yeah.
wow, what I was saying about the hookshot being the progression might actually be wrong. It might be the mitts. Maybe the progression's in Hookshot Cave, and Bydey will not be able to get that until he goes to Pod.
And there's the last medallion. So now Bydey doesn't have to even care about medallion guessing game.
Nope. Oh, missed.
So now
Yeah,
I wonder.
it is
So
faster to save and quit than to drop down.
yeah, the thing is now, when does Grasshopper go to Skullwoods? Now is the problem.
Well, the real question is, what do the mitts actually do for Grasshopper? I don't think they
Right
do that
now,
much.
Ice Palace.
Oh. Oh no. Oh no. That's
We have an
terrible.
entirety of a Green Pendant Ice Palace available to us.
I hate to say it, but I would actually do Ice Palace before Skull if I was in Grasshopper's shoes.
I would do the same thing. I honestly route aggressively, and I do the Skull. I usually skip Skullwoods, honestly.
If
Without Fire Rod?
if Grasshopper is lucky, the Fire Rod will show up in Mire Shed here.
Yeah. Like, luckily he can't get into Mire, even if he had the medallion for it.
Mm-hmm.
Which the medallion for it is in Skullwoods.
It's in Skull. There we go. So as long as the Fire Rod's not in Mire, Grasshopper will get shuttled into that though if there isn't some like mirror or something showing up here. The mirror would be pretty mean because it would give Grasshopper mountain access, equivalent to Bydey's, but also miss out on the hook shot.
Grasshopper, he has. That's the thing is, okay, he's doing front of escape now. He's cleaning this up. Which, granted, if he's counting, he gets to skip Zelda's cell. There's nothing of real note over here.
Nice boomerangs, by the way. Did I see 2 boomerangs in a row on Bydey's side?
I don't know. I wasn't looking at the time. Kind of surprised Bydey's doing this first. Because I think normally the route would be to go to Hera first, clear it, and then come back for Spiral, because climbing back up from Spiral is annoying.
Yeah, maybe. It doesn't really matter because Bydey's access to... Oh, Bydey doesn't have access to Dark Death Mountain. Never mind. Yeah, you're right. Bydey should be doing this last. Now, maybe Bydey's hoping that something shows up for Spike Cave? I don't think he has enough hearts to just force it right now, but if the Kingdom Burner shows up, then you do Spike Cave last, and you don't do Spiral Cave last.
Yeah, I don't think he has a red or a blue in his bottle, because if he had, then he could absolutely brute force it, which is a bottle.
The bottle is green. Yeah, the bottle is green, which doesn't matter if you don't have the magic item to refill. I think maybe
he doesn't have a net either to just like grab a fairy and Hera real fast.
Yeah,
use that.
You can do some things at the hook shot. I don't know if it's enough on 12 hearts.
Yeah, I might be possible. If it is, it's really tight.
Yeah, maybe Bydey can do some like gamer pumping, which if anyone can do that, it's him. But it's
Grasshopper counting gets to skip Zelda cell entirely, which is good for him.
Good. Glad to see you. It's hard to do that when you have so much space between doing back of escape and doing front of escape.
Okay. I assume with the Sank start he's going to ice now. No? Okay, he's going here.
This might be Skullwoods. I was actually expecting Mountain. But this is not the Mountain. This is maybe Skullwoods, which would be really good for Grasshopper, who can now enter the portal a little bit faster. I agree with this. Because you have this mitts access, you can get back to Skullwoods super quickly.
Okay, it's Skullwoods. This is actually ended up pretty great for him. I think he might also be thinking of, if Skullwoods is nothing, then I can do Hammer Pegs and Mirrorless Smith. I could like start Mirrorless Smith chain. I feel like starting it isn't terrible, like, but going back for a purple chest really sucks. Like, if I'm doing Mirrorless Smith, I'll probably just grab the Smith and just leave purple chest, honestly, because going back for purple just, is not great. Smith by itself isn't terrible.
I'm surprised to see Bydey doing hair basement when you have the hook shot. I'm guessing this is just a risk aversion play of not wanting to leave an item when it's so hard to get back here without the mirror. Setting up a death warp as well. This is a really awful place to have to death warp. I think you would really want to wait until you know that you didn't get a full heart refill, unless he happens to know what his heart total is. Oh, he knows that this is a key, of course.
Yep.
I'm so used to people doing this last. I'm so used to people doing this last. I just assume it's an item.
Yeah, I feel like the normal thing, you just skip it and you debate basement if there's like an item left. But also by that point, you're probably not going back for basement for the big key. But my hair pot setup.
It's yours, bread pot.
It's mine.
It's so free.
Bread pot or fondue pot or whatever.
We have made a hair pod that doesn't require any coordinates. You don't have to memorize any visual cues or any coordinates. You can just do it.
I will always laugh that I found that for the dumbest method.
There was a time when I said that the freest hair pot, that nobody was going to find a hair pot freer than the last one, the Raiden pot. They're the boots for Bydey. This is where you'll see the speed, because Bydey really knows how to do boots movement. Again, I would recommend any mentees pay attention to how Bydey uses the boots. Even this little quick hop he does here, he actually missed, but you do have to be facing sideways to do that quick hop. You can't be facing up because the north ledges suck. Ooh, okay.
I think he got a poke.
He got a poke.
He got a poke.
Yeah, he did. But that's fine. He's actually used to doing this with fighter swords, so...
Yeah. And you're doing a fighter sword anyway, so dealing with angry Moldorm.
Oh, and the cane. See, he could have hair potted and not gotten any of that stuff, because that was Compass Chest and Moldorm having the items. So he lost a lot of time doing hair basement. I wonder if Grasshopper will gain it back, despite getting here a little bit later. And I say, gain it back as if Grasshopper is behind, but Grasshopper does have the mitts, and Bydey will need to be picking those up as well.
Yeah, I feel like Bydey will be just gonna be forced into pod here, because I mean, at this point, mitts is locking a lot of stuff. Because now with the mitts, you can go into mire, you can go into ice, you can go into dark mountain, you can even enter. We can just enter TR. Like we could have fire rod in TR. That is absolutely possible at this point. And yeah, we have a couple boots checks we can do as well.
This is when you do lumberjack.
Yeah, for sure. Also, getting around those guys is legitimately super awkward. Their hitboxes are so weird. And nothing. Yeah, Bydey is absolutely going to be forced into pod here in a moment, because I don't think he really has anything else left.
Okay, I'm going to say this so that Grasshopper can learn from this. It is faster to save and quit to the old man than to go through this cave, especially without boots. Especially if you're doing hook shot.
Yeah, I feel like you try to go for the bomb jump, and if it doesn't work, then just save quit. The moment you start falling and fail, just quit out the old man.
Alright,
Bydey's doing big bomb first.
Big bomb. Now this could be big bomb into pod, which would be good for Bydey. It could also be big bomb into catfish, which is an unknown to us. We haven't seen catfish yet.
Yeah, like I don't hate going for big bomb into pod, into catfish. Like I do get that, there's you kind of don't want to go into pendant dungeons because it's a time commitment, and it's not required to beat the seed, obviously, unless you have a pet seed, then that's a whole different story. Bydey remembering, oh yeah, I can go check Pyramid while this is going off. But I mean, there comes a point where it's just really good density to just go do your pendant dungeons. He's walking out, so this is definitely cat. I would think this is catfish if he's walking out of here.
It'd be pod. But it's catfish.
Yeah, no, I feel like if you're going to pod, you would just save quit when you're in the Pyramid Fairy area, or in that room. Just save quit and flute.
That's 5. A good point. And if you are going to walk somewhere, there's no flute to catfish, but there is a flute to pod, so you do catfish, given the choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, granted, Bydey will have the benefit of having boots to do pod, which is better. Like, they do help, for sure. However, not having that time kind of comes, and showing off the cool spot. Cool spot you could throw the rock.
Yeah, that's called quick fish, and it's because catfish's circle of rocks is actually a square of rocks. So you're throwing it into the corner of the square, but it's very hard to get because you can't actually land on the rock because it'll just break. You have to land outside the rock, but still inside the square. I did not recommend this unless you're an NMG tryhard.
Yeah, it saves you like half a second to a second at most.
Also,
and if you mix it up, you gotta.
No, you can hard lock. If you throw it and you get a quick fish, but you walk away before he spits the item, you'll actually hard lock. Kid you not.
I'm surprised Grasshopper is going for this, or maybe Grasshopper doesn't know Haripot. I don't know. I would assume he does, but I don't know. I mean, it is Mentor Tourney, so.
I know a guy who developed a very free strat for it. I recommend everybody learn it. All you have to do is just watch what Bydey did and copy it. It's that easy. There's no coordinates. There's no line up on this pixel and set up this subpixel, and I don't miss subpixels, tell you what.
Yeah, like I it's kind of feel like I think I go back and forth on using my own method versus Raiden Pot, just because I'm just so used to doing like stupid shadow lineups from glitch modes. So I'm just like, oh yeah, I can just do this real fast. Like, it's easy. I'm just used to it. The new method is very easy to learn. Extremely easy to learn.
I don't know if I agree with those dashes Bydey used to get out of there. He's probably thinking about it right now as he's doing them. Like, oh, I don't think they'll save time. Oh, look at Raiden Pot showed on Grasshopper's side. It's almost as free as yours. It looks like he moved up a little bit though, so it's not really. As you can see, it is possible to mess up. There we go.
I think what's funny is when I think it was Eriror or Bydey was like messing with my Haripot. I found the try-hard shadow lineup version of my Haripot to make it slightly quicker with the but like does the same thing. It's funny.
So I give an advantage to Grasshopper just because Grasshopper will get to single dip the mountain. But I don't imagine Bydey will hesitate to do Misery Mire with the cane and do, before doing the mountain. It might just be that the top of mountain is dead and Misery Mire has Fire Rod and Bydey will not have to do it at all, so who knows?
And granted, being able to single dip the entire mountain is honestly really nice. And also, I wonder, because Grasshopper might be really tempted to go into TR, because you can, and there's nothing stopping Fire Rod from being in TR. Which is a very mean location, but it can absolutely happen.
It can be all the way in Laser Bridge. I calmed to raise the head Fire Rod in Laser Bridge. It's one of my proudest comms after the race that had Moon Pearl and Trinix. Both of them
that.
being main tournament races. Love to see it.
I love that Moon Pearl and Trinix. That was
Yeah,
yeah,
that's an
fighter.
inverted one, by the way. For those who don't know, that can't happen in this mode.
Fighter sword hard required or not technically hard required, logically required. Fighter sword Trinix. Because as it turns out, if you just bunny revived in Castle, you could have just gotten a hammer, made that fight go from awful to yeah, pretty much expected.
You know, this is our first time seeing the medallion for TR because Bydey wasn't here in the Dark World. It is also Quake, so Ether, Bombos didn't matter.
Nope.
Well, maybe Bombos matters. Could still be Fire Rod and Ice.
And Grasshopper, that hesitation, thinking, do I go into TR? Do I just?
You don't do it now. You go into TR after Hook Shot Cave because you do not want to have to Death Warp out of TR. It's slow. You want to have the mirror.
Yeah. Ideally, if there's no Fire Rod in TR, you just get like a big key or something in Compass Chest, and then you're like, okay, cool, I'm out.
Yeah,
Peace.
you also might find Fire Rod here
Spyro.
in Super Bunny Cave, so this is another reason you don't go into TR first.
We are officially Mirror from Go Mode.
Mirror Go Mode. I was saying that this is a Zebra Mirrorable tournament, but actually Mirror Go Mode is the one exception. Mirror will not show up, at least, in any of the places where you're looking for Go Mode. Or rather, you're not going to have the mirror to check items for Go Mode.
And here, yeah, this is Bydey. Yeah, he's going Meyer. I mean, he can full clear Meyer, so it makes sense. Now, question is, where is the mirror gonna be? Because we are running really low on locations in total between both runners.
Yeah, that seems to be happening a lot. It's still a lot of TR for Grasshopper.
We basically have, is it Meyer? If it's not in Meyer, if it's not in TR, then that...
Desert.
We have
maybe.
Desert, we have...
King's Tomb.
We have Ice.
Ice. I would say there's still a few locations. TR and Meyer are the only ones that aren't terrible.
And then we have Mirrorless Smith Chain.
Oh, gotta love it.
You know, the classic mirror and purple chest.
Good old
the one that everyone
cave.
hates.
Yeah. You probably do that. I don't know if you do that first, you do it before Desert, so that you can do Desert with the Guinness Cave and Purple Chest turn-in, or if you just do Desert first using the flute. It's hard to know.
And then, of course, if Mirror just happens to be in Meyer, then chances are Bydey is gonna clear Swamp looking for Fire Rod. Because you ideally don't want to have to retraverse the mountain multiple times.
You definitely don't want to put yourself in a position where you're just going to TR without Fire Rod, and you haven't already done everything else. It made sense for Grasshopper because it was part of the mountain play, but for Bydey it would be a dedicated trip.
Yeah, like he just cleared Hera, so his getting to East Arc Mountain is like a very small commitment. Like maybe 30 seconds of commitment for a whole boatload of checks and maybe TR. Now, of course, now we gotta wonder, do the runner, how comfortable the runner is at doing Hammer Trinix. I mean, granted, you have the Path Magic, you can potentially just blast one if we really wanted to. But, Hammer Trinix is, I don't want to say, like, to me, as someone who's experienced, who's just done it so many times, it becomes easy. But, working with the hammer hitbox, especially when you're newer, and not used to doing the fight with the hammer, is a little awkward, and especially because Trinix just hits you for a whole boatload of damage if you happen to mess up.
Yeah, Master Sword Trinix as well. Not too bad when you have half magic. I think you can just do Master Sword Trinix and not have to worry about magic. Even without half magic, but with half magic you have a lot more leeway. Especially because the Fire Rod has a chance of damaging the Ice Head. So you can save hits.
is you definitely want to make sure that the ice head does not just just lay ice all over the floor, because that just makes that fight go from a pain to just bad in a heartbeat.
Yeah, usually what we do is if we can't kill the the fire head first before the ice head can do anything, you do as much as you can on the fire head. Before the ice head starts to spew, you go to the ice head and then you go back to the fire head. Bydey is disappointed to have to use the lamp here because it's terribly slow. Now, you don't need to set up all 4 of these. I understand that Bydey's not used to doing this with the lamp, but you have plenty of time, even if you're new. But Bydey, has good movement on his side, so he can definitely have skipped that.
Vanilla big key. Well, at least, even if you're clearing Mire first, it's gonna be slow regardless for Grasshopper.
At least Grasshopper doesn't have to worry about Mimic Cave. And Mirror does show up, so that's go mode. Grasshopper needs a key, so has to continue to get this last chest, which has the key in it. Looks like he was gonna just go straight to try next, but you do need that small key. Otherwise you slam your face into this door here. Now that is go mode for Grasshopper. Bydey does need to return to the mountain, and it's hard to know what will lead him there besides just running out of locations. Not saying that he won't do it. It's definitely better than finding the mirror and having Fire Rod go mode. It's actually really good for Bydey that both of them are here.
Yeah, he's going to be forced up here sooner rather than later. The question is, does he do ice beforehand or desert? Like, there are a couple bad checks that are in logic that I would not blame anyone for taking.
Ice is a really good one because you have the cane. You have everything that makes it good except that it's a pendant. I guess it's not as good with Bombos, and Fire Rod is faster in most of the rooms where you'd use it. But Bydey's having a little bit of trouble with this fight. What would I do in this situation? Bydey is just going back to his low percent experience and just gaming it out. He doesn't have very many other options. Now, what Bydey's doing here is there is a pixel on the right side of the screen where you can stand and not get hit by the goo. This pixel does not exist on the left side. So as long as you stay on that pixel, hugging the wall, and don't move off of it, you can fire arrows into the small eyes. And this is a backup that Bydey has practiced a lot, so you can see he made really good use of it. But you can still get hit by eyes there, so you had to be careful. If you have hearts to spare and an eye comes at you and you don't think you can dodge it, it is better to walk into the goo and take the damage from the goo rather than take the damage from the eye. But yeah, overall that was a really nice fight once Bydey got it back under control. Really saw those instincts kick in. Now going back in to check the big chest, I imagine. Trying to think of what else this could be. This is going to hurt Bydey a little bit.
When he got the big key, I forget. I think he maybe only found one item, and at that point just gambled on the second one just being on Bydey.
That's perfectly fair, and it would have saved a lot of time because going from the big key chest to the big chest is quite slow. It's not really even, as far as I can tell, any faster than going from the entrance to the big chest, so I agree with Bydey's decision to do Bydey first.
Yeah, but at that point, I think especially if you've already found the 3 small keys, it's pretty likely that it's on Bydey.
Yeah, it's hard to read the Mire logic because Mire is, there's a bug fix that the bug made the Mire logic predictable, but now it's not as predictable. It's only like one more thing you can read into it now. It is criminal that you can't just hookshot through a dead rock like that. So Bydey is doing the right thing here, going back up the mountain. Let's talk about leads now that they're both going to be in go mode. So Bydey will have to do Hookshot Cave and Super Bunny Cave, go into TR, and do all of TR. Grasshopper will have to do Mire. And I think Grasshopper has a significant lead here because Mire is... it's not going to be that much faster given the location of the big key, but I would say it's a little faster than TR and already partway through Swamp. So... why is Bydey using Samaria here? I don't know.
Good question.
Bydey doesn't need the hearts.
I wonder if he's maybe thinking of what's it called? Bite Cave potentially.
Oh, of course, Bydey. Nobody, you don't go in here thinking, oh, I'm gonna get go mode. You go here thinking, I'm gonna do the whole thing, and Spike Cave is part of it. So yeah, that's actually a really good point.
I will say, at least personally for me, because but someone who plays in the main tournament, when I'm routing these things, I'm not thinking, what do I do here if I find the thing I want? The entire time I'm thinking is, what do I do if I don't find the thing I want to do? How am I going to route this, assuming this is the wrong decision?
Yeah, the really good players will plan for both. They'll this is a skill that it takes a lot of years of rando experience to get the skill of being able to plan for multiple possibilities. Of if I don't find it, I will go here, but if I do find it, I will go there. If I find something else, I will go there. It's so hard to keep multiple things in your head. Even when you find an item, it's hard to adjust to having the item and reroute on the fly. Yeah, you see this a lot with people picking up boots in a sea that doesn't have boots for a long time, and they won't even use the boots until like a minute later, and they remember they have them.
Sometimes it's easy to just forget you don't have them at some point.
No, that was so close. No, Bydey. Go into Turtle Rock. Okay, I imagine Eriror is probably screaming in his ear right now that he needs to do Turtle Rock. I was screaming.
Yeah, because it's like the fire rod lets you clear Skull Wood, so you already got both items out of it.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about. Of you have to think really quickly when you find an item of how does this change the route that I'm on.
When it comes to Master Sword Argus, ideally you get a double spin, but it is actually possible to get triple spins on Argus if you get your timing tight enough.
It's also kind of hard. I think the double spins are not as free as people make them out to be.
It's hard. There's definitely a feeling to it.
It is really hard to get the second hook shot, not just hooking the same one again, and also to not poke the puff, to actually have released your B button before the hook shot finishes its trajectory, because if you still have B held out, then you will just poke the puff and you'll lose your sword.
So now it's going to be Mire into Skullwoods or vice versa. Honestly, the ordering really doesn't matter. And they'll even have the good Skullwoods, or they'll just have enough keys to just ignore the Gibdo, which is nice. Slightly nicer. And yeah, at this point, both runners are going to be retracing their steps. And it's going to come down to... So Grasshopper's, I would say, is in the lead. Because after this, all he has to do is Skull Woods, which is, you know, pretty quick. And after this, Bydey has to do Skull Woods and also Go Mode Swamp.
Yeah.
Granted, both of those are very quick, but, you know, Grasshopper is effectively an entire dungeon ahead.
I would consider this a disaster has to occur lead for Grasshopper. And given Grasshopper's quality of play, I don't expect to see that happen. Even though there is a Master Sword Silverless Ganon in the end, decent chance that something shows up like fire, like a Silver Arrow or a sword. Nice hover from Bydey. The hover is does not save time. Bydey is just showing off. You can pretty safely not learn hovering for a very long time. I don't even hover. Like you can just not do it. You don't have to learn it. But if you do learn it, it's pretty fun to pull it out in places like that.
Grasshopper's going to lose a little bit of time going for everything but vanilla big key because cutscene sucks. People don't let it do it.
Yeah, Misery Meyer, Bydey was, it's still behind, but was lucky that Meyer was indeed basically a required full clear and not just a God Meyer.
Yeah, things would be a lot different if it was a God Meyer. It's the ideal setup for Bydey because you're basically forced to full clear it regardless. The only thing Grasshopper gets to skip is going back in for Big Chest. So you'll have no reason. And also, Grasshopper does get a slightly faster in this room just for having the Fire Rod.
Bydey's showing off some really nice laser skips. Doing 4 in a row like that takes a lot of practice. Even NMG only does 1 of them. It's really clean movement in that pig switch room as well. Yeah, this is some good try next from Bydey as well. It's low percent stuff that Bydey is really good at. Bydey has done things like the 3-heart low percent NMG run. So Master Sword fights are really no problem for him. Okay, Grasshopper, lucky to have the powder here because 3-heart Bydey, even with Master Sword, is pretty tough.
Yeah, you would ideally hope to either rely on bow.
Ooh, yeah, this is not the anti-fairy I would be powdering here. I guess you can get 2 of them and get full health.
Yeah, I think his goal is to get 2 because Bydey does a lot of damage even on blue mail. At this point, I don't blame not wanting to risk a death here, because that would be really bad.
Yeah, people in chat are discussing whether Bydey can gain this back on execution. And while Bydey's execution is very good, Grasshopper's execution has also been pretty solid. This is not a super green runner playing against Bydey. Now, I'm saying this as Grasshopper is now on 1-hit KO from the eyes, I believe. So this could actually turn around right now at Vitreous. And it unfortunately seems to have turned around. I don't know if this is a lead for Bydey, but it is definitely a lot closer. Vitreous Master Sword is a very hard fight.
You want to try to get your spins in, Get at least enough where you can have arrows take care of the rest. Because yeah, it's just bad. It's a bad fight unless you have cape or something. If you have cape, then Bydey just kind of becomes free with cape.
The
Like
lack of
cape half magic.
the lack of invincibility items is definitely hurting Grasshopper, the Bydey fight in particular. It doesn't seem like the other fights or the other dungeons have really been an issue, but Vitreous is particularly hard. So now it's the rest of Swamp versus the Bydey refight. Going to the big chest is interesting because it gives Grasshopper a chance to get something like the cape or even the Master Sword.
Cape, a sword.
Yeah,
a
the sword and the
silvers.
silvers, they can make a difference because of not just the execution, but the time it takes to do Master Sword Silverless Cannon. That's like a 2-minute gap right there.
It's like when it comes to silver, it's kind of funny. If you talk to people who run spoiler, you don't get the silvers for Ganon. You get the silvers for Vitreous. Because man, it makes that fight so much faster. It's just done in a few seconds.
Okay, this is really looking like a lead for Bydey now because Bydey is closer to Argus than Grasshopper is to Vitreous. In terms of, even if they arrive in the boss at the same time, Argus is a little bit easier. Grasshopper does have to win this fight. If you have practiced the NMG version of the fight, I would recommend going for that, even with Master Sword, for at least a couple hits, because you'll get a lot of damage on. You can also throw bombs, you can fire your arrows. Make use of all of your resources.
If you get like 2 or 3 good spins in, you can easily get the eyes down to like 1 shot from bow range, and then just kind of play it out like that. That's usually my goal, is to get most of the eyes down to 1 hit range. And then it becomes a sort of like a Silvers fight.
Okay, Bydey into Argus just a little bit earlier than Grasshopper into Bydey. Let's see how Grasshopper handles this. Okay, so what happened with Grasshopper is you have to slash your sword a little earlier than that. You want to aim for, you see those 2 spots of goo before the eyeballs, you want to walk up to them and then walk left and slash your sword and charge your spin there, and then walk cardinal up into the goo. But Grasshopper went all the way to the goo and then slashed, and that was what caused the spin to not come out. Because you cannot charge your spin while taking damage. And Grasshopper was taking damage right there. So now this is scary again. This is not a safe side to be on. You want to be on the other side because that's the side that has the safety corner. This is looking pretty bad. Again.
This is the point where
Oh, yeah. Easy to get cornered. There's really no actual safe place to be in Vitreous. You just have to, you take a little bit of a breath. This is a time where, as a mentor, I would recommend the runner just go and do other checks and buy a potion, maybe. It doesn't take that long to get back here. It's a little unfortunate that Grasshopper only has 1 bottle to put a potion in.
So in this case, you can buy a red potion, and then at the very least, the trick is really getting past the first phase. That is the trick. Once you get down to the second phase, even just Master Sword slashes, like, yeah, it's slow, but it's not too bad. Phase 1 is easily the hard part because you're trying to dodge a whole lot of things at the same time, and it's very easy to either get cornered or to just lose track of a single eyeball flying at you that ends up just doing a whole ton of damage. I mean, yeah, Hyruler Bydey is he has a very, very respectable time in multiple speedrun categories of this game. So execution-wise, he's really good. This is Bydey learning the Rando itself, and there's just like a lot of scenarios that, obviously don't come up in speedruns because you'll physically never have the items for those scenarios, and suddenly, hey,
Ooh,
there's a really fast strat.
That was such a good moth fight for Bydey. That last spin there, it's really hard to actually get spins off because you have to charge your sword, and you have to charge your sword without getting a spike interrupting you by tinking your sword or hitting you. And he got that perfect spin to finish the fight. It's one of the fastest Master Sword fights you can do. Bydey is a runner who thrives in Go mode. So if you're just now tuning in, you're seeing Bydey and you're wondering why he's in the Mentor Tournament. This is, Mentor Tournament is not just about learning how to play the game, but also about how to route randomizer. And that's really what Bydey needed help with. But now that he is in Go mode, he can just play his game.
Now he can just play the game like plenty of other speedruns he's done.
Yeah, and if this was a seed where the Master Sword, they weren't on Master Sword at this point of the game, they had Tempered instead, or Silvers, Grasshopper would have been in the lead. So, this could have gone any which way. It's just this Vitreous fight that's so disproportionately hard. Vitreous, so you can see Grasshopper's now going for something more like what Bydey was doing, which is the avoiding damage entirely instead of trying to swim in the goo. And it's working a lot better for him now. Just slowing down a little bit, paying a little bit more attention to the eyes, and look at that. He has got 7 hearts, can take several hits and not have to worry about dying. Now that is a lightning strike, but now we just have to sink 8 arrows into the big eye, and that will be it for Grasshopper and Vitreous. You can already see the learning happen in real time here, just from the experience of fighting Vitreous on low % equipment. Ooh, nice hammer hit.
These kind of fights definitely come up more often than not in randomizer, and it's something, if you're in the Mentor Tournament, it's definitely worth getting some help from someone. Be like, hey, I want to run through this fight. Like, if you get put into, Master Sword or God forbid Fighter Sword Vitreous or something like that, it is a time, and it's legitimately difficult, and something that is good to at least have a little bit of preparation on, so you don't go into the fight in shock of, oh no, I don't even know where to even begin. I want to fly by the seat of my pants on this fight. Hopefully avoid that scenario. And
Okay.
surprised he didn't loot the rest of it.
Yeah, it's
hoping for a sword or silvers, because either one of those cuts like 2 or 3 minutes off the fight if you find it.
Yeah, for sure. I think it depends on how much of the game you've done. With Bydey having not done Ice and Mire, or Ice and the rest of GT and Desert, maybe he's thinking that the sword is probably just not there, and he's perfectly capable of doing this Ganon fight. It's just a matter of speed rather than capability. Oh yeah, Grasshopper purposely losing beams in the room before Mothula. Took 2 hits. I would recommend using the spike in the room right before Mothula, the one where you drop down, because that one will always do a whole heart of damage. On Red Mail, the enemies in that room were just not doing enough hits. Fire Rod here is also really good. Fire Rod does the same damage as Master Sword, and you can spam it from a distance. And you can sometimes even get splash damage for a little bit of extra. That was a nice fight. Alright, very good land molas. Moving down for that last one is unintuitive, but apparently Bydey has done this fight enough times that he knows all the RNGs and what to do. It's not always possible to get a 1 cycle, but wow, going for the bow strat when you have Kane, that's kind of cool.
Not sure if that's just used to doing it, worried about
he,
magic.
Why does he know the bow strat, though? The bow strat's in like any percent RNG. Like, it's not a category Bydey runs.
But it's cool.
It is cool.
That is the most important thing. The most important thing to learn from this mentor tournament is be cool on Restream. That's the ultimate goal.
Alright, how much do you fluff in the climb? I imagine Bydey will probably not open anything except maybe the Moldorm 2 chest, given that he didn't open anything in the other one. You can maybe open this one as well, because you're used to getting... In NMG, you often get the key here, and you get the full magic. So you might as well open this chest. It's also nice to have the sword for Moldorm itself, not just for Ganon.
I would have laughed if it's just right there. Like, yeah, just skip everything in GT except validation. It's just right there.
Yeah, if it weren't for like 2 Vidi deaths, maybe 1 Vidi death plus spiking a tempered sword could have made the difference. But it's pretty hard to come back from this when you're racing somebody who, you know, thrives in go mode like Bydey does. Ooh, nice free triple setup. Shame if something were to happen. Okay, good.
Even if Grasshopper was to spike his silvers or right now or something, it wouldn't make a difference.
Yeah, like I said, 2 Vidi deaths is a lot to come back from. I think 1 Vidi death, maybe, like if Grasshopper had done the second try Vidi and also gotten tempered silvers here, could have caught up just on the Ganon fight. It's really, really slow for Bydey, no matter how good you are. But it wasn't here, so it doesn't look like that would have happened. Ooh, interesting going for Hope Room in hopes of silvers or tempered. I don't think we saw this on Bydey's side. Alright, it is not here.
Yeah, because, like, dying to Vitreous, it's almost exactly 2 minutes to walk back to him. It's... That's not including, you know, where you died in the fight or anything. That's just 2 minutes of just walking back. It's probably one of the worst boss deaths to take, honestly.
Yeah, it's right up there with Cold Stare. Cold Stare is, I think, worse just because you're out of magic when it happens.
Yeah. Cold Stare puts you in a really bad scenario if you die to him.
Alright, Bydey will just need to do a whole bunch of spins. Hopefully get Torch Glitch. You definitely want Torch Glitch in the Master Sword Silverless fight. I think Bydey could manage it without because he has half magic and a green potion, but it would be very, very tedious.
Yeah, no, it's if you don't have silvers, just oh.
Ooh, oh no, Mrs. Torch Glitch, and I would almost want to reset the fight in this situation. Because the last thing you want to do is get halfway through the no Torch Glitch Silverless fight, and then die from a Fire Bat. Because the Fire Bat will do 2 hearts of damage on any male. This is the sort of thing that could have turned the race for Grasshopper if there were, you know, just the 1 Vidi death instead of 2. So, you know, it's never over until it's over.
Yeah, magic-wise, he has enough. It's just this already very slow fight is suddenly a whole lot slower.
Yeah, Grasshopper had a close call in Gauntlet 5 as well, getting down to half a heart. But had powder out and decided to gamble on, you know, just trust their instincts, make it to the door, and use the anti-fairy powder instead of the blue potion, which I'm thinking Grasshopper is hoping to use for Ganon.
Yeah, Gauntlet is no joke. It is because they're just a bunch of BMOs and spikes that are just guaranteed to do 1 heart no matter what your mana level is. It's easy to potentially get complacent when you're at like 13, 14 hearts. You got blue or red mail, but it's really easy to start getting knocked around and start taking a lot of damage. And doing those rooms quickly is honestly very difficult.
So I think Bydey runs a category called Glitchless Dungeon Order, if I'm not mistaken, which is a category where you're not allowed to do Torch Glitch, but you're also not allowed to do Silverless Ganon. So I'm not sure if, but he seems to know this fight, but I don't know where it comes from, if he practiced it for Rando or if it's from just from backing up NMG. But he's setting up doubles, which you can do without Torch Glitch, and I would recommend learning how to set up doubles. But what I do to set up doubles is I wait until Ganon's at the top of the screen, and he fires a bat, I light the right torch, and then I light the left torch. You can do this with the lamp or the fire rod. So you can see, he's doing it a little later, but I think it should still work.
Yeah, you can still get 2 off this timing. You're just lighting 1 torch like after he fires a fire bat, and so when he comes down, right when he lands, just fire the second one, like as if you're on Torch Glitch, really.
And that is GG for Bydey. Very nice backup Ganon fight. He really needed to clutch it out, and I was hoping Grasshopper would maybe get a Tempered Sword of Silvers here. We could have had a closer race, but looks like Grasshopper will also have to go for the Master Sword Silverless fight. And I would also recommend, when you're in a Mentor Tournament, do finish your races, even if you lose. Master Sword Silverless Ganon will be good practice for Grasshopper. Even if they practiced it before, it's different when you're doing it in a race.
Yeah, things are a little different because it is true. You do have... There is nerves when it comes to race. There's nerves when it comes to you're on Restream and you're kind of worried about having a bunch of people watching you do stuff, and it does mentally affect things. How you perform in those fights becomes a little different, and it's good to get the practice in. Also, I believe the finishing out is good, if only for time difference reasons, because I know that's used for during the Swiss weeks, or during the Swiss weeks just for scoring reasons, for where people will be placed at the end.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, your record is... Also the fact that the loss is to Bydey, who maybe I'm biased, but I expect him to do pretty well in this once he learns how to do the routing. And also with the guidance of a mentor, most of his, I would say his, difficulties are solved by just having a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that he'll necessarily do well in brackets, but, in Swiss, your record against your opponent does take into account how well your opponent is doing. So Grasshopper can still expect a high Swiss seeding if they can pull off some more wins against other people. But, Swiss doesn't really matter. This is not about winning, this is about learning, and you have 6 chances to learn. You want to take advantage of those.
Absolutely.
You saw how much Grasshopper improved just doing 3 Vitreous fights in a row. How much better the third fight was than the first 2, just by changing the strategy a little bit. I don't know how much of that was FlipHeal's advice and how much of that was instinct, but it does make a difference because, you'd expect Grasshopper's 4th Master Sword Vitreous, whatever the next fight will occur, to be more like the 3rd than the 2nd or the 1st.
Yeah, chances are, it could be possible that Grasshopper perhaps just doesn't have much experience, like, it's not really low percenting Vidi, but going in with just a Master Sword, at that, because usually Vitreous is so late that you're kind of expecting... usually have Tempered, maybe. Have better means of doing damage than that.
Yeah, you also often have at least the Cane of Burna or the Cape which I think is how a lot of random players will do Vitreous Master Sword. They'll just do invincibility strats, where they spam their sword or dash back and forth with Burna. And being without both of those things, and without the silvers and without the swords, is pretty rare, all things considered.
And just from the high item requirement for the dungeon itself, that's just so common.
Yeah, Grasshopper getting to phase 3, that's very good. Avoids the phase 3 fire bats. And hopefully gets torch glitch.
Yeah. Oh. It's a fire bat. You just gotta take things a little carefully. Because there are times those fire bats you think are gone, and they come swiping through suddenly. You think it did its last cycle, and no, it's still going.
Yeah, we'll let Grasshopper finish us out before bringing in Bydey and Eriror. Also, even if you're used to doing Fire Rod Torch Glitch from speedruns, in Randomizer you have a free quick swap. You might as well just use the lamp. Unless you're going for something like, the spins that you do before Torch Glitch, which is something you're probably only doing if you have a lot of experience. Just use the lamp. But do know how to do it with Fire Rod, because you don't always have a lamp in this fight.
Yeah, it's absolutely possible to come here with just Fire Rod, and knowing how to reliably land that Torch Glitch with Fire Rod is... Like, you do have more wiggle room than you think. You have... I don't know how many frames it is, but... learning a good visual cue of when to go for it is important.
Yeah, usually when people are doing Fire Rod, they're standing away from the torch, and then they're looking for a tile falling cue. So they'll wait for a certain tile to fall, and then they'll press Y. One thing that can happen in Fire Rod Torch Glitch in particular is you can get your inputs eaten if you do it at the wrong time. Usually that's like when Ganon finishes warping. Now, Grasshopper does have to be a little careful here. Cannot take any more hits. No, that could have been a triple. But didn't matter, because that was the last hit. GG's Grasshopper and Mentor FlipHeal.
Yes, GG's to both runners. We should be getting them in both in here. I see they are sitting there in the green room.
Oh, we're getting Brudgen.
Hey, welcome, guys.
Hey.
GG.
GG's.
What a race.
That was a tough one. That's especially a tough one to play against an NMG runner.
Yeah.
I was looking at times on all the asyncs, and I'm like, damn, Bydey he is really fast.
Yes, he is really fast.
No, so I knew it was going to be a big challenge this seed, and I probably should have gotten some safeties before going to Meyer, but that did not happen.
When did you die?
Yeah, I died to Vitreous twice.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah.
Oh, it's super close, all things considered, then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Grasshopper had a bit of a lead going in. And also with Bydey aggressively skipping sword checks, Grasshopper easily could have just gone 2 minutes ahead by getting his tempered silvers and landing Torch Glitch. So
Did anybody find tempered?
No.
I didn't even. It's not that I skipped them. I just forget. And my NMG brain just turns on, and I just blast past all of them. Barry's like, "Yeah, you should have. Oh, what about those? Okay."
You almost saved and quit out of Super Bunny Cave and given us all heart attacks. I saw two selects in there, and probably Eriror screaming in your ear.
Yeah, I get a bit all over the place sometimes. NMG can be your friend, but it can also be your big enemy in this as well. It's not often or it's not uncommon that I blow past chests in runs and then have to go back and get them later on. But I mean, I think that seed was quite tough. But I think we did some checks that was in our favor. Like we dipped skull pretty early, and we got items. We dipped pod. Yeah, we did that right off the bat, and then we did pod as well quite early, and we sort of dipped a lot of the pendants, and we picked up items in all of them. So I think when we made those plays, I kind of thought like we had a good chance.
So I only dipped one pendant. I dipped pod, which obviously was required. So I never touched desert. I never touched ice palace. I'm curious to see what my collection rate is going to be. It's probably going to be pretty low.
I don't 142.
The main difference between was mostly the fact that Grasshopper went to pod first before checking front of skull, so Grasshopper does front of skull pretty much right after pod, which gives the ideal scenario of, oh hey, I have mitts and I'm on the mountain, I can just do the entire mountain in one trip and not have to reclimb later.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, it makes somewhat sense. I just somewhat assumed that if something like that would happen, that they would take the mitts to ice.
We were wondering that too, because it's one of those like, do you just commit to skipping front of skull and just, oh, you have bombos? Ice is just fully in logic with these mitts.
Well, mitts, besides for ice, caneless ice, mind you, besides for that, it was just the smith chain. Like, mitts didn't unlock very much until I had hookshot. And so I was like, so I can go and do ice without hookshot and without cane, knowing that logically it could, it's not attractive in the first place. I was 141 collection rate, by the way.
140 what?
141.
Oh, you got me by one.
But that was the reasoning, is nothing looked very attractive, and I had already made the decision to like go back in the front of escape after it was kind of a late decision. So I was like, let's just go do skull on my way to do the smith chain. And then when I got that hook shot, I said everything else doesn't matter, let's go to the mountain.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons we didn't do pod is because we didn't have any money. There was the thing that we ran into. We had zero money when we got to Hype Cave. And then in Hype Cave, we decided to reverse so we reversed into Vu. We hadn't gone to Vu at that point. Like, we left that for a while, and then we kind of reversed around, picked up the little ant dude, I think, I can't remember his name.
I feel like 300 were flying all over the place. I'm surprised that you guys were so broke.
Yeah, we just...
So we did Sora after South Shore. Like, so we got Dark World access, we still did the fake flipper checks.
Okay.
Then we went to Hype Cave. We did get a 300, but I said, okay, pod is a pendant, and we know that Peace Down is like one of the 5-6 crystals. So let's do that first. Mm-hmm. So we went to the west, we got the flute, activated flute, went into Peach Down. And I was like, well, we don't have that many great options. Like, we can go into Desert Pod. Let's just do Front of Skull first. Just because it's going to be a pain to get back if we don't get anything anywhere else. So then we got the hook shot and went up the mountain. But we didn't, like, aside from the boots, we didn't really get anything there.
I can definitely feel just like having Flip available to me and saying like, hey, like, what do you think about this? That definitely helped my routing. I think like this kind of was a jet seed. We were in go mode at what, 55 minutes? Or like pretty close to an hour. And then it was just, I spent 20 minutes in Mire or whatever.
I
Yeah,
don't know when we got it. We were quite late on it. Like we were still searching. I think Mirror was our goal.
Yeah, Mirror
yeah,
was
Mir-
our go.
Well,
Yeah, Mirror has to be your go in this seed. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's
only
physically
problem-
impossible to have anything else as your go mode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
doing pod first just meant that once you go to Skull Woods, you just do mountain and you're in go mode, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, we had the problem that we were kind of incentivized to check Meyer first, so we full cleared Meyer and then went back to the mountain, which was lucky because we had a lot of options. Like we could have gone to desert, we could have gone to ice as well. And
Yeah,
like,
you're sort of wondering if you maybe would have pushed ice or maybe desert because it's like it's right there and revisiting the mountain again without fire. Like searching for fire rod for TR sucks when you're like, I don't want to reclimb the mountain again if it's not up here.
yeah, it's just a really fast 6 checks though.
Yeah.
I got a sea of green on the left-hand side of my map on the light world. Like I didn't even go into the desert area at all and didn't touch any of the smith chain.
Yep, same.
So
Well, I guess no, we never even checked Agina. We checked Desert Ledge.
Nope.
Well, it wasn't important. It was just some rupees that we never got.
yeah.
That's a good point. We probably should have checked Desert Ledge with the book that we found.
Yeah, honestly, I was kind of convinced that like Desert's gonna have something because I was like, I don't know, this is Sphere 1 book and then a glove and a lamp. It's just like, yeah, you can logically clear Desert assuming Boots doesn't lock anything.
Hey,
I was like convinced Desert would have something for progression.
Yeah.
I had the assumption that because all of those things were available, that it was Boots locked, and it was just going to irritate me to go in and look.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's really the only. Like I think if Boots were really early, I would have probably seen someone dive it.
For sure.
Yeah, anyway, I would like to give a big shout out to our crew here with Break-Kun as my co-commentator and Hyruler tracking, and most of all Lumaga for putting on this show, who does have to duck out. So if anybody wants to continue discussing the seed, we can head out to our Discord. I'll put that link in chat. Any final words from the runners before we cut this off?
Thanks everybody that participated in this. Thank you to the mentors. This is definitely a fun learning experience, so I'm looking forward to doing more of it.
Yeah, totally same. Enjoyed it. Thanks to my mentor, really kept me on track, and yeah, thanks to the crew and all that stuff. It was awesome. Looking forward to the next one.
Sounds
And it
good.
looked like it was a
Congratulations.
really good first race. Like, pretty close until the end, the end there. So
I actually
good way to start it.
Ganon really badly. I missed torch glitch.
Yeah, it's how you go for the first spin, and I think it was like greed for the second spin, and then
Yeah.
it went, oh no, wait, this is falling apart.
Yeah, it was rough. Anyways, thanks again, everyone.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
All right, goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.